What's happening, people? It's your girl Minna. Welcome back to the channel. You already know what it is. Big up to everyone locked in, man. You know what it is. Listen, it's match day settings, and it's one to look forward to because possibly for the first and maybe the last time, we're not too sure. Ruud van Nistelrooy will lead out the Manchester United team. It sounds really weird saying that. If you go back like 20 years or so, saying that Ruud van Nistelrooy will lead out the Manchester United team and sit in the dugout is a very kind of unusual thing. But that's what's going to happen today. He will lead Manchester United as the interim manager against Leicester today in the Carabao Cup and potentially against Chelsea on the weekend as well. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Ruben Amorim and where the situation currently stands. Have United paid his release clause? Have they agreed terms with Sporting? When do they expect to get him in? All of that kind of stuff we're going to talk about. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the Leicester City game in a couple of hours. Some pre-game build-up, if you want to call it that. So listen, be sure to hit the like button, guys, and be sure to subscribe if you are new here. You lot know the rules in the community. You come in, you wipe your feet, you say hi to everyone in the chat, and then you hit the like button. Manchester United have about 6 games in November. So, of course, one of the biggest goals is to get Amorim into the role before at least the 3rd game, I guess. Today, the Athletic did what I was expecting them to do. They dropped their dossier. If you lot know me, you know I love a good Athletic article. And they dropped their in-depth article talking about the process of sacking Ten Hag to appointing Amorim. And boy, there's some embarrassing stuff in there, guys. I'm not going to lie. There's one thing that I was just laughing at. Now, some of the stuff kind of clarifies INEOS' situation and where they stood with Erik Ten Hag. But after reading that, I definitely do think that that meeting in October was definitely to decide that they're going to sack Erik Ten Hag, but get the replacement in before, you know, December, etc. So I definitely think that that October meeting that they had, which apparently was a monthly meeting that they do have with the rest of the executives within the Manchester United board. But one of the biggest topics of discussion was sacking Erik Ten Hag. Now, the article also goes into detail about what happened in the summer when they chose to keep Erik Ten Hag. So we're going to go into that, and we're going to go into the people that Erik Ten Hag wanted to sign, because we all know Erik Ten Hag wanted to sign Frankie de Jong. But did you guys know that Manchester United went as far back? They went as far, as making a fake video of de Jong lined up with Manchester United legends so that they could use that to pitch to him that he'll become a legend at the club. I know it's crazy when you think about it, but we're going to talk about all of that. So listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe, as I mentioned, if you are new here. If you want to support the channel, you can by joining the membership club, aka the Minions Gang. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content, and of course, you get to support the growth of the channel. It's pinned at the top of the chat as well, so it's just quick. You go, you click the link, you join the membership, and you join the community. If you want to support the channel in alternative ways, you can by sending in super chats with your comments, with your questions, with your thoughts, or just to show some love. Or you could just do the most simplest thing, which is just hitting the like button, because that helps for the algorithm. So we are going to start with the Athletic article. I know Erik Ten Hag's gone, but I still think that there still needs to be some context added to everything that has happened over the last 6 months. Context is key, guys. Context is king, because everybody was saying, why is Erik Ten Hag staying? What happened with Thomas Tuchel? Well, lo and behold, the Athletic have confirmed that Thomas Tuchel was Manchester United's #1 choice. They didn't say why, but they just said that the talks broke down in the summer, which eventually led to them choosing to keep Erik Ten Hag. Another reason why they chose to keep Erik Ten Hag was because Sporting's release clause in the summer was a lot bigger than what it is right now for Ruben Amorim. So I am thinking, what is the likelihood, guys? What is the likelihood that they went for Ruben Amorim? Because in this season, the 24-25 season, his release clause decreased from what it was in the summer. The summer would have still, May times, June times, would have still been part of last season. So his release clause decreased this season. Now, I'm sure they got the mathematicians in, they got the finance guys in. I'm pretty sure they found a way to figure out if it's a better option to keep Erik Ten Hag for a couple of months and then pay the smaller release clause. Now, the Athletic also confirmed to us that Erik Ten Hag's release clause is £15 million. That is confirmation of what Manchester United will pay for the departure of Erik Ten Hag. 15 million. And like I said, in October, you know, that infamous meeting that they had in October, it was already scheduled. It was already in place. They were already planning to have it. They actually have monthly meetings with the executives. However, the big topic on discussion in that meeting was to sack Erik ten Hag, and the Athletic report that Barada, Ashworth, and Wilcox, so 3 of the big dogs that Jim Ratcliffe appointed as the football minds, you know, the best in class, those 3 all pitched presentations or suggestions and presented reasons as to why Manchester United had to part ways with Erik ten Hag. Imagine that. The 3 guys that are basically the top of the food chain at the Manchester United structure that makes the football decisions. All 3 of them are sitting there saying, we need to sack him. We need to, and essentially the article suggests, it doesn't confirm, but the article does suggest that the decision to sack Ten Hag came on that day, but they had to think of a way to implement it. Now, Thomas Tuchel, as I mentioned, was the priority choice in the summer. He was the number 1 choice. However, in October, they moved away from that. Barada, Ashworth, etc. They all moved away from the idea of having Thomas Tuchel, and that kind of led him to accept the England job. I think everything is starting to make sense now in terms of timelines. Now, what managers were Manchester United looking at? Ruben Amorim was the main choice, but they looked at Allegri. They discussed the idea of Allegri, which to me is mad, but they did discuss the idea of Allegri. They also discussed the idea of Terzic, and they also did discuss the idea of Xavi, but all roads led to Amorim. Why? Because that guy there on your screen, the bold guy, Umar Barada, was pushing for Ruben Amorim. So a big part of Manchester United bringing Amorim in has been because of him. He's the guy that's kind of been pushing it, is the key driver. Now, in the summer, I know one of the biggest questions that we've kind of had is, why did Man United choose to keep Erik ten Hag if they were already meeting with other managers? Well, in May, Jim Ratcliffe was advised. Now, we don't know by who, because as far as we're concerned, Barada and Ashworth were not officially in their role in July, but we know that after the FA Cup final, that it was advised to Jim Ratcliffe for Manchester United to change managers. It was advised. However, I'm not saying that what's the override? Yeah, he didn't override that decision. He didn't overrule them, but it was just advised. But the Athletic can't kind of disclose too much about who advised him, because we know Barada, Ashworth shouldn't have been advising him at that time because they weren't officially in the role. But one of the reasons that Manchester United chose to keep Erik ten Hag in the summer was because, guess what? Like we all kind of thought, they wanted to see how he would get on under new structure. They really wanted to give him a chance. And I genuinely think that they wanted to give him a chance to see how he gets on under the structure. But unfortunately, that just sucked up 3 months of Manchester United's football season. Now, this is the fun part. Because this guy here, and we're going to talk about the Man United game later this evening. Of course, we're going to preview that. We're going to talk about Chelsea. We're going to talk about Amorim, etc., etc. This guy here was not appointed by INEOS. That is what the Athletic article has confirmed. Ruud van Nistelrooy was a suggestion from SEG agent. SEG, I hate that term. But Ruud van Nistelrooy was suggested by the SEG agent, Kes Vos, who also represents Erik ten Hag. So he was a suggestion from Erik ten Hag and his agency. So this idea, I guess we can put it to bed maybe now. This idea that INEOS put their man in the dugout in Ruud van Nistelrooy, I guess we can kind of move away from that assumption that a lot of us, including myself, have been guilty of making. It's interesting that, yeah, I find that kind of interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I find that kind of interesting. But inevitably, there was things that Manchester United looked at over the course of the last couple of years that led them to leaving or parting ways with Erik ten Hag, and one of them being was the amount of money that Manchester United had spent and how far behind they were other teams. Now, since the start of last season, guys, Manchester United have been one of the least clinical people in front of goal. Look how bad that is. It's only Everton and Bournemouth that are below Manchester United since last season. I mean, that is really, really bad. And we can also kind of go on and discuss this point, because I don't know if you lot have seen it, because I know you've seen the quotes flying around, but the Athletic also confirmed Erik ten Hag wanted to sign Danny Welbeck in the summer. He was a free agent. I don't know if you lot remember. I think he went on to sign a 2-year deal with Brighton. But Erik ten Hag wanted to sign him. However, INEOS chose not to sign him in the end, not because they were against it, but there was concerns about whether Erik ten Hag would actually use him and use him correctly. And they kind of looked at previous signings under Erik ten Hag and how they've turned out to be, and how much Erik ten Hag has utilized them or maybe haven't utilized them. E.g., Anthony. He brought him for 100 million and then barely played him. So that was one of the reasons why they chose not to sign Danny Welbeck. Age was a factor as well, because INEOS's mindset is to sign younger players that have, more time, can have more time at Manchester United in comparison to that. If Danny Welbeck came to Manchester United, guys, he'd be 6 years younger than Ruben Amorim once Amorim came in. That is kind of funny, but it's very interesting that Manchester United also, in particular, INEOS, overrule Erik ten Hag's signing suggestions or requests, because then they went and signed Joshua Zirkzee. And this kind of makes me realize, or it makes me wonder, and I don't know if you lot feel the same, was INEOS in this time preparing for the arrival of Ruben Amorim? Because like the Athletic kind of suggests, Ruben Amorim was discussed in the summer, but the reason why they could not go with him is not because they couldn't agree terms with him or anything. It was because he had a bigger release clause in the summer, which of course that makes up the summer period when Man United were looking at new managers. That would have been towards the end of the official 23-24 season. And then his release clause obviously will decrease the following season. I think personally, Manchester United's hand was forced. I think INEOS's hand in October, in that luxurious meeting that they were having in central London, I think their hand was forced. They didn't want to sack Erik ten Hag, but they realized that they had to. But they had to perceive to the public, oh, we're not going to sack him just yet. We're going to give him a few more games. That's why everything was tight. Everything was quiet. All we were hearing, guys, in October, and maybe that, and again, maybe a little bit respect to INEOS, because there's not a lot of, in terms of the news leaks, a lot of it doesn't really seem to be accurate unless it's coming from David Ornstein or Fabrizio Romano, guys, right? It doesn't tend to be accurate, because we were hearing, and I'm guilty of this because I spoke about it on a stream, we were hearing INEOS were flying to Barcelona to meet with Xavi on the low. We were hearing weeks before the official meeting took place that Man United were looking at Inzaghi. Xavi was a name that was discussed, but they did not meet with him. Now, in the summer, the Athletic confirmed that the two managers that they actually met with and they actually wanted was Thomas Tuchel or De Zerbi, and Amorim was another name. And that was, and I genuinely feel like, yeah, their hand was kind of pushed. INEOS were definitely preparing for another manager, but I don't know, it sounds odd to keep him. That's another window preseason, etc. lost. I agree, it is kind of odd to keep someone that you don't see a long-term. You know what it's like, guys? It's like if you're in a relationship and you live with your partner, but you just stay living with your partner because the cost of living outside is a lot more expensive. It's cheaper for you to stay living with your partner. It's basically like that. It don't make sense. Just move on. And I feel like they wasted 3 months of the season. Now, at this point of time, do a lot of you guys feel like the season is still salvageable? Can Man United still make some good of their season? I think if they had waited till like December and the results weren't getting any better, then it would have been a waste of an entire season. But I think October is the right kind of cut-off period. It's funny because I remember watching and having debates with my friends when the season started, talking about who's going to be the first manager to get sacked. And I remember a lot of people saying, Erik ten Hag will get sacked by November. Like, he's not making it to Christmas. And it's only for me once the season started and I realized, you know what, United are not getting any better. And I think it was the Liverpool game that kind of put it into perspective for me. I thought this guy's not lasting the end of the year. I didn't think he'd be the first Premier League manager to get sacked. I thought people in the lower side of the table, but we are the team in the lower side of the table. But a lot of people, if I was a betting person, I'm not. But if I was, I would have put money on Erik ten Hag being the first manager to get sacked. Because after Liverpool, it kind of confirmed for me that it was not going to get better. And it also confirmed that to INEOS, guys. Because in the article from The Athletic, apparently after the Liverpool game, all the executives, you can see them on the screen now, but all of them that were at the game met in a boardroom at Old Trafford and were just in disbelief about what just happened. Not just what happened, but the manner in which it happened. Additionally, there was concerns about, and I'm so glad that this was mentioned, there was concerns about the fact that Manuel Ugarte, Erik ten Hag was labeling Manuel Ugarte as a player that needs to adapt to the Premier League, and then he just threw him in against Spurs. I'm really glad that that was picked up. Erik ten Hag football was the worst in the league. Even Sean Dyche plays a better style. Charlie says Amorim will have some work ahead to salvage this season. It'll be really hard to get top 4 this season, but if he goes on a run, I don't think top 4 should be the goal. I actually think just top 6 or top 8 should be the goal, and winning Europa League. Try claw back as many points as possible and get closer to the opposition whilst going on a cup run in the Europa League. Because Europa League, I think, is Man United's best bet to get to the Champions League this season. Top 4 is going to be really, really difficult because you've got the 3 teams, I think, that are quite solidified in the top 4. I think Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester City. Then you've got Aston Villa under Unai Emery. You've got Chelsea that are sniffing around. I think you've got Brighton sniffing around. And you've got other teams sniffing around, Spurs, etc. So for me, Man United should need to claw back as many points as possible to get back into that top side of the table. And equally so, they need to make a serious run in the Europa League. And I'm not saying just put all your eggs in the Europa League, but unfortunately, I think Man United find themselves in circumstances this season that's different to maybe when other managers have been appointed for Manchester United. Big up to Red Scare Claire. I hope you're doing well. Says, of course, the season is still salvageable. I think we tend to forget everyone dropped points. That's true. That's true. But also, I don't like the idea or the notion of like relying on other people to drop points. Let's just do our job and hope, you know, whatever happens around us, it happens. But let's just focus on ourselves and just focus on getting 3 points game in, game out. I think that's the most important thing. INEOS played game theory. Keep all options alive to maximize the potential of multiple alternatives. Facts. They did a good job with that, I think. Big up to DJ. Says, Amorim time to bring us to the next level. I really hope it works. Exciting for the Academy Mina. Now keep an eye on James Scanlon and Dan Gore. I'll definitely keep an eye on them. I'm really optimistic as well for the Academy under Amorim, but it's not just the academy, but for me it's like the utilization of the younger players, and hopefully they can get some responsibility under the manager, whether it's in cup games or whatever it is in. It doesn't have to be directly competitive Premier League games. I'm not talking about like the big matchups in the top 6, etc., but it just needs to be competitive games in the season to get them playing time, because like I said, you look at the summer window, guys, these guys were buying people in preparation of a manager that knows how to utilize young players and knows how to utilize talents, potential talents, and get the best, you know, like nurture the best out of someone. You look at Amorim's track record at Sporting and what he had over the last couple of seasons. He's proven that he can develop young players or potentials into talents. Now, Sporting tend to have been, I think, a team that sell to other European clubs. You look at Pedro Porro, you look at Mateus Nunes, you look at Ugarte, etc. I get that. And I think actually quite a few teams in Portugal are like that. You look at João Neves, you look at Darwin Nunes, etc. But I think having Amorim now with the players that they've brought in the summer window, these young... Man United went out in the summer and targeted young talents, not just in UK, but in other continents, which means they're trying to get the best of the best in terms of young players and have a manager to kind of nurture them, which is important. They've been cooking this Amorim thing behind the scene. I genuinely think of, irrespective of how Erik ten Hag this season, Amorim was getting the job. I personally didn't think he was going to turn it. I didn't think ten Hag was going to turn it around. Personally, I did not think he was going to turn it around. And I'm actually glad that they moved quick with it, because you look at the run of games United have in December. Imagine a new manager coming in and the run of games you have in December. You got Arsenal, you got City, you got Liverpool on the horizon. Impossible. Kind of impossible. Let me see what else you guys are saying in the chat. Dane says, do you see Anthony and Garnacho as win-backs under new managers? You know what? I don't know. Anthony, guys, I think with Anthony, Man United just need to accept that they made a mistake with a signing. Like, it's that simple. This whole, let's try him in and wing back this. The guy kicked up a fuss when he was asked to play wing back 1 or 2 games under Erik ten Hag. Manchester United need to accept when they have made mistakes in transfer windows. And this is what I like about maybe other clubs. Like, when a signing has not worked, you move on. And Anthony has to be one of those signings that you just move on from. If Manchester United are able to recoup some of the amortization costs that they book to their accounts on an annual basis, for PSR perspective, that's about 27 million. So if they can get about that much for him, it'll be a net zero in their accounts for the financial year. Overall, they'll make a loss, but they have to accept it. And I think the biggest thing for INEOS right now is accepting that they need to penny pinch to kind of get everything in line for a PSR perspective. If Manchester United in the coming year or two want to go out and spend big bucks and bring in the best of the best, because that's what Sir Jim Ratcliffe has kind of emphasized on Manchester United, is either bringing in the best in class or buying the talents that are going to be the next best thing. It has to be one. So for me, with Anthony, they just have to accept it. It's a done deal. With Garnacho, I look at Garnacho and I looked a lot at the way Ruben Amorim plays. And I think a player that is able to hold the width and be up and down the touchline will absolutely benefit from being a wing back under him. Now, I look at Garnacho, and this is my question to you guys. Do you guys see Garnacho as more of a wide player? Do you see him more as a player that can hold the width, that can dribble? Do you see him more playing closer to the striker? Because when I look at him, I think he's not a great crosser. I don't think he's good at putting deliveries into the box. But with the ball at his feet, he's very capable and able of dribbling. He's very capable of, holding the width that will allow, and this is just me speaking as if Man United are playing Amorim's system, right? Ruben Amorim likes to play a striker up top, 2 10s behind, and then they have the wing backs at the width. If Garnacho is able to play like that and hold the width, then I think he can play. I think he's more likely to be a benefit, like in the wing back side, left wing back, rather than as a second 10, if I'm being honest. Now, I'm really curious to see with Amorim who he kind of goes with, because I look at Trincao at Sporting, and I think, okay, you can get that in Ahmad. What Trincao can do, you can get that in Ahmad. I look at the other side, kind of like the left side of the 10. If you want to call it like the second striker or the second 10, it's going to need, number one, someone that can play directly behind the striker. I think that person, between the 2 10s, one of them will have to drop into the midfield where Man United are defending to form a back five. So who is it more likely to be? Is it likely to be Ahmad? Is it likely to be Bruno or Rashford? Now, this is the question for me. Rashford is not a wing back. And I don't care what anyone says. Marcus Rashford, we can talk about how poor he has been over the last 12 months. We can talk about he's been a shadow of himself, except we could talk about inconsistency. But Marcus Rashford is not a player that should be playing as a wing back. I've been near enough frustrated at Erik ten Hag using him as a deep kind of right winger over the last couple months. You put Marcus Rashford as close to goal as possible, that is where you will benefit. And then I look at, the 2 10 options. Ruben Amorim has some decent options to pick, but not only that, it's different types of players. So I'm really excited to see kind of how it could possibly turn out. He's not a great crosser, but holding the width works with his game because he can cut in, playing next to the striker, ain't it? His touch is not the best. His decision needs to improve. I do think he does need to improve in those aspects. I think his decision making is not that great. I think it's quite average. But I also think that will come with time. Like, I've referenced this a lot, but when you watch him in his first season at United and now, he's completely changed. He's completely changed. I think Garnacho will be used like how we used to use Dan James. Remember, Dan James played up top to play balls in behind. I don't want to see that balls in behind. I just want to see good football. That's it. I just want to see good football. But actually, let's talk about Ruben Amorim. Let's talk about Ruben Amorim, because I watched his press conference yesterday, and I don't know what the media team at Sporting were playing at. They should have controlled it a bit more, because how did you just win a cup game? And every question is, are you leaving? Are you going to Manchester United? Have you agreed terms? When are you going to leave? Is this your last game? But nobody actually asked him questions about the game. Now, Carve at Sky has just reported, literally like an hour ago, that reportedly Manchester United's players have been warned. Warning. They've been warned to expect an extremely strict coach who does not tolerate egos in the locker room, who will not let himself be pushed around and is very demanding in training and will get rid of anyone who does not respect the rules. Now, I actually think a lot of managers outside of England are probably like this. It's just that with England, I don't know what it is. I feel like in England, like if you're publicly a ruthless coach, you become a villain the media villainizes you, the fans might villain. Like, I feel like when you look at managers in Europe and like the things that they say in press conferences and how they so casually drop star players and whatnot, if you do that in England, you'll be the topic of discussion for weeks in the media. And if this is really the case under Amorim, which I don't doubt it, because I also think that this is a part of, what's it called, the personality and the nature of his coaching style. This is what Man United need. Like, this is actually what Man United need. And I actually will say, and I will be the first person to say this, there is probably some players in the dressing room that will need to leave. There's some players that I already look at right now and I think, yeah, you are not going to be a benefit to this manager. You are not going to be a benefit to the system. It's better if you just leave. I'm not going to name names, but there are certain names that I already look at. And then there's certain names that I look at and I think you guys still have something to offer. But there's some particular names that I look at and I think, yeah, and it's not because I think they're a piece of shit. I don't think they're a piece of crap or anything. I just look at the system that Amorim has, you know, the way he's being touted, his personality, and etc. And I just think, you know what, some of these players will be better off if they're not here now. I actually think Amorim is inheriting a much better squad than Erik ten Hag did. When Erik ten Hag came into Manchester United, he came into a very fragile environment. I think he came into a very fragile environment. It was a very unstable environment coming off the back of Ralf Rangnick, who he didn't even get along with himself. A lot of players were already in the dumps, I think, about the way the season went. Equally, Paul Pogba was leaving, Matic was leaving. I think Amorim is inheriting a much better squad than Erik ten Hag. And the reason why I say that, 26-man squad or 24-man squad, yeah, if you want to say that. I think it's a 26-man squad that Manchester United have, yeah? Only 7 of them are from the previous 4 managers from, or 3 actually, because there's no managers, there's no players, sorry, from David Moyes' era. So there's only 7 players that are from Manchester United's last 3 managers. That's it. That's it. Everybody else is either players that Erik ten Hag has brought in the summer, or in the summer transfer windows, or players that INEOS brought in this summer. You look at Joshua Zirkzee, you look at Manuel Ugarte, etc. I think a lot of the players that he's getting now are better than what Erik ten Hag inherited. Don't get me wrong, Erik ten Hag inherited Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane, Cristiano Ronaldo, Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes. But I think the environment was a completely different one. I genuinely feel like the environment was a completely different one. Now, in terms of where we stand with Ruud Amorim has a 30-day notice, just like the rest of us that work. He's got a 30-day notice period. However, if Manchester United pay 5 million, which is about 3.5-ish, 4 million pounds, if they pay that, they will terminate his notice period and he can start work immediately. Now, what we do know is Ruud Amorim is coming in with three of his coaching staff. And I don't know if it's true, but I saw someone saying that they're 28 and 29 years old. I don't know. If anyone knows the real age, please do let me know. But he's bringing in 3 of his coaching staff with him, which for me kind of signals potentially an exit for some of the coaches. It's very unlikely that Manchester United will have a coaching staff of 5-6 people. I think Darren Fletcher is he's a technical advisor or something. I think he'll stay. Rene Hack, I don't know. I just don't see it. Ruud van Nistelrooy, there is rumors that suggest that he could leave as well once Amorim comes in. I guess it's because he's bringing in his own coaching staff. Now, the coaching staff he's bringing in is Carlos Fernandes, Adelio Candido, and Jorge Vital, who's a goalkeeper coach. Sporting also believe that it is already a done deal between Amorim joining Manchester United. They just need to cross the T's and dot the I's. Now, I know a lot of you guys are questioning whether he will be available and in the job for Chelsea. Now, Sporting have a game on Friday. He's kind of suggested that he still might be there for their game on Friday. One thing that we do know is that Ruud van Nistelrooy is taking the pre-match press conference ahead of the Chelsea game on Thursday. So on Sunday is the game. They do the press conference on Thursday. I think we should get the information on Thursday afternoon from the press conference. And that press conference will be led by Ruud van Nistelrooy. So that is kind of one thing. Now, Manchester United reportedly informed Sporting that they would be willing to pay his release clause of 10 million, and they want him in place for the game on Chelsea, but it might not be possible. Now, Manchester United also are taking into consideration the fact that they have 6 games across 30 days. And then the run of games in December is just a whole load of other games. So Manchester United's key kind of move right now is to get him in the door. But I think that they're willing to pay the release clause, but I don't know if they're willing to pay that extra 4-ish million. I mean, I could say it's not a lot. 4 million is a lot of money, but in the context of what they're working with right now, I don't think it's that much. And I think also with Sir Jim Ratcliffe reportedly saying he will pay what is needs, he will pay what is needed to kind of bring the right manager into the role. Sometimes you've got to just put your money where your mouth is. Now, the fans at Sporting, they've not been happy. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Sporting fans have not been happy about Amorim leaving or potentially leaving. I saw yesterday he didn't really have like a big farewell or anything, which kind of makes me think maybe he might be staying in the role. But reportedly, the fans were disappointed to find out that he only had a 10 million release clause, which they believe is a very low one. Now, apparently that release clause is only for big clubs, and I don't really know how they kind of assess what a big club is. But today he was there, reported for training, and he was coaching the Sporting squad this morning. So for me, I don't know. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how things pan out. Now, will he be here for the role on Sunday? I honestly, guys, I could not tell you. I can't predict it. I feel like if INEOS have been willing to wait things out with like Dan Ashworth, but this is a situation I think that they can't wait. It's a matter of get it done by any means necessary. Amorim is a United fan, really? So we're letting new managers and coaches with their diapers manage Man United. What did they say? If you're good enough, you're old enough. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as, I think maybe because people are so used to the Jose Mourinhos and the Allegris and the Sir Alex Fergusons and the Wengers, who are all 50, 60, 70 years old when they're coaching. But it's a new world we live in, guys. It's a new world we live in. Did you know that you could do a degree in football coaching and management? Meaning, if you don't even have to be a professional footballer, you could go to a university, if the university offers it, by the way. There's a few universities in the UK that do it. I know people that have done it. You could go do a degree in football management and coaching and learn how to be a coach in a 3-year degree. And then you go and work for a football club, by the way. You do your UEFA licenses. You could be a football coach by the age of 26, 27 at the latest. It's a new world we live in, guys. Get with it. This whole kind of turning your nose up at managers because of age is, I think, ridiculous. The youngest manager right now, by the way, in the Premier League, absolutely bossed Manchester United in the 3rd game of the season, was it? Or the 2nd game of the season? Eric Ten Hag, 55, 56 years old, however old he was humiliated by a 31-year-old. So this age factor is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If you are good enough, you are old enough. And the same is applied for football. The same is applied for footballers. In the real world, guys, if you work in, I don't know, sales or consultancy, if you're a doctor, do you think, oh, that person's 24 years old, oh, they're a doctor, I don't want them to see me, get me a 60-year-old doctor? No, because they're a doctor, they're qualified. It don't matter how old they are. Do you think I'm going to go to the hospital and look at someone and be like, oh, how old are you? Oh, you're 26. Oh, you're too young. Can you get me a doctor that's like 40 years old? No, because you're a doctor. You're qualified. I trust you to do your job. Just like I would be trusted to do my job regardless of age. So this whole age factor thing, for me, is not a good way. It's not a good way to kind of judge it. Minna, did you see Sky Sports' agenda against Amorim? Good coach when City was conceded, but condemned when United went in for him within a few hours. Kind of what really makes me laugh. It's not about the way the media speak about him. It's the way that Man City have briefed the media. They've gone from him being a target for Pep and being a replacement for Pep for, oh, we were never interested in him. We were never looking at him. Look at the current age of the teams. We are in a different era of football. 100%. 100%. Guys, I saw a picture of Lamine Yamal and Kabasi and someone else. It was 3 Barcelona players who are all in this first team for Barca right now. I saw a picture of them when they were 12 years old, guys. That was 5 years ago. Imagine that. And the reason why I laughed to myself was because the kit that they were wearing was a Barcelona kit to me that just seemed like a recent time. Because when you see pictures of people when they're younger, of players when they're younger, you expect to see an old kit. You know, if I see a picture of a Man United player who's like 20, 21, if I see a picture of them as a kid, I expect to see them in an old kit. But really and truly, they're probably going to be in like an Aeon kit or something, which is not that long ago. If you are good enough, you are old enough. And this is why, can I say, yeah, I'm glad English football is kind of moving more in that kind of direction, because I feel like with English football, how quick are the English media to kind of drag down a young and upcoming player? Think about all the talent that has come through England, and players who have come through at a young age. Yeah, at a young age. And look at how they've been ripped the older that they get by the English media. Then you look at other countries, like Portugal, Spain, France. They don't treat their young players like that. They don't treat their young players like that. Lamine Yamal right now, yeah, I think he's like one World Cup away from becoming literally the king of Spain. They actually might give him a knighthood, because that's how much they love him. And not just him, but even historically. Look at Cesc Fabregas when he was younger. Look at the French team. Look at Portugal, etc. It's only really England where they drag down their own players because, oh, they're too young. Like, I remember going into the Euros this year, people were talking about, oh, is Kobbie Mainoo good enough to play in the England squad? Are you taking the piss? The guy slotted into the Man United team easily. Why couldn't he do it with England? And then he plays for England at the Euros, and what happens? He's one of their better players in midfield. Like, this notion of age thing is ridiculous. Tony Kroos is a manager in Germany. Nobody says age, ex-player, etc., etc. Jesse Lingard was rocking the Aeon kit with CR7 as a kid. Exactly. Exactly. And we all saw the Barca midfield free against Real Madrid, where teens, God forbid, Man United had a midfield of teams. Like, God forbid that was to happen. But let's move on, because look who reports for duty at Old Trafford today. By the way, guys, we've got over 100 people here, so be sure to hit the like button if you've just come through. You know the rules, guys. You come in, you wipe your feet, you say hi to everyone in the chat, and you hit the like button. So please do hit the like button. And if you are new here, please do subscribe. If you want to join the membership club, aka the Minions Gang, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content, and of course you get to support the growth of the channel, the ever-growing channel, thanks to you guys. If you want to support the channel in other ways, you can by sending in super chats with your comments, with your questions, with your thoughts, or just to show some love. You can do that as well, so all your support does not go unnoticed. Are you doing any FC25 streams? You know what, every time I try schedule, so every week I do my scheduling for my streams, and I just can't, I don't know where to fit it in, because there's just so much with Man United right now. I don't know if any of you guys watch the Saudi League, but I'm thinking of doing a watch along tomorrow and on Friday for the Saudi League, because it's 2 big derbies. Is Al-Ittihad versus Al-Ahli, so Benzema versus Ivan Toney, and then it's Al-Hilal versus Al-Nasr, which is obviously Ronaldo, Mane, etc. versus Mitrovic, Ruben Neves, etc., etc. It's going to be 2 great games. I might do watch-alongs for that. Then, of course, after that, you know, I have the lowdown that I do with Saeed, got the shows that I do with Marcel, got the match day content, the pre-game content, all of that kind of stuff. So I really want to do FC25 streams, but I'm thinking I have to just take it over to the other app, aka Twitch. I might just have to take it over there. And on top of that, everything else that I do outside of the channel is starting to pick up for me at the moment, alhamdulillah. I'm working with DAZN. I got an announcement because I'm going to be on TV on Saturday, but I'm going to announce it closer to obviously Saturday, and just a lot more other things are happening. So I'm really trying to find the time to do FC25. Maybe in the international break, that might be the best time that I have to do that. Now, as I mentioned, Ruud van Nistelrooy will walk Manchester United out today for the first time, and maybe the only. I don't know. It might be the first. It might be the last. But he will walk Manchester United out today and pick the squad and coach from the touch. Imagine this, guys. I'm not gonna lie. 20 years ago, yeah, when Ruud van Nistelrooy was leaving Manchester United, did any of you guys ever think that he would come back as a Manchester United manager? Like, did any of you guys ever think that if you were alive 20 years ago, which I hope some of you guys were, Did you ever think, you know what? I can imagine this guy eventually becoming Manchester United manager? Because I definitely didn't think that. I did. To be honest, though, as a United fan back then, I didn't really see a life without Sir Alex Ferguson. And I guess it's because the circumstances in which his Man United career ended in. It was quite fiery, if you want to say that. Now, if you don't remember, Michael Carrick took over for Manchester United when Ollie was sacked for an interim game, and he did something big. He made some big changes in the lineup. I don't think there will be a statement lineup today, and the reason why I don't think so is because it's a Carabao Cup. I think regardless, there would have been rotation in the team. I think regardless of that, there would have been rotation in the team. Now, I want to see if, and again, this is a bit of a hot take. Is the game on TV today? It is. It's on Sky Sports. Thank God. Man United's injury list right now is crazy. Look at that injury list, guys. Look at Man United's injury list. Whoa, I zoomed in way too much there. Sorry, guys. Whoa. Even I can't see. Damn. Damn. What the hell did I just do? Okay, there you go. Man United's injury list. Anthony, ankle injury. You know, can we just actually speak about that? Can we actually speak about that? The way he went down in that game, yeah, I understand it could have been so painful. I understand it could have been so... His injury that game, I get it. It could have been painful. But I really thought the guy tore his ACL or he had a hamstring injury. But to have an ankle injury and only be out for 3 weeks, I don't know what that reaction was. But personally, like, I can't speak because I've never had an injury like that. Well, I have. I broke my ankle playing basketball, but I was probably in the same amount of pain that he was showing as well. But anyway, players that are unavailable are 1, Anthony. 2, Harry Maguire. 3, Kobbie Mainoo. 4, Lenny Yoro. 5, Luke Shaw, who reportedly has had another setback. So, guys, that's now 19 games that Luke Shaw has missed so far this season. For context, he missed 38 games last season. He's already missed 50% of what he missed last season. I think it's time to part ways with him. I really do. But another player that will be out until November, maybe Christmas, Mason Mount. It says he's out with a head injury. What? And Nazir Mazraoui is doubtful. Toby Collier is doubtful. And Malacia is out reportedly until November. So really and truly, Ruud van Nistelrooy is working with a team today that is still relatively similar to what Erik ten Hag had on the weekend against West Ham. I don't think there's going to be a lot of changes. Hasn't Bruno almost caught short in appearances? You know what? I've got that number here, funnily enough. Luke Shaw, yeah. Luke Shaw has 275 appearances for Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes has 246. So he's only about less than 30 off of him. Fun fact, guys. If Bruno stays fit for the rest of the season and plays like all the Premier League games, all Europa League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, etc., by the end of this season, he will have played more games. He would have played the same number of games that Luke Shaw has missed to injury. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Now, again, this is for me a decision that INEOS have to make in the coming summer. Do they part ways with him? But then I can also understand that they might look at it and think, who's going to buy him? Who is actually going to buy Luke Shaw? He's contracted till 2027. And I also think another thing that might play into Luke Shaw leaving, or not leaving, should I say, is that if Man United get rid of Johnny Evans, they get rid of Victor Lindelof, and they get rid of Harry Maguire, they've only got 3 centre-backs. They're going to need at least another 2 backup, 3 backup at the most. Luke Shaw might be a left-sided centre-back option for them. Now, he's good on the ball. He's technically a great player, but I think the biggest kind of asterisk of every positive thing that you can say about Luke Shaw is about his injuries. That will always have an asterisk over whatever value he adds to the team. That will always be hindered by his injuries, unfortunately. So it's going to be a decision that Manchester United will have to make. And they'll have to make it in the summer, kind of look around and think, you know what, who's going to be available or who's going to be able to buy him? I don't know. Some news, though. We got some news in terms of players arriving. I saw Casemiro arriving. I saw Leicester arriving. I saw Garnacho arriving. Jack Fletcher, he actually really looks like his dad, guys, when his dad was younger. But obviously that's because that's his dad. But Jack Fletcher has arrived with Jace Fitzgerald, who are both expected to be part of the matchday squad today. They've arrived at Old Trafford, and it looks like we might see some young players possibly getting a chance in the team, which is good. That is positive. That's what I think people have wanted to see for some time. Breaking news: Son looks like his father. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of other academy kids that I hope to see in and around the matchday team today. I want to see Harry Amas. I wouldn't mind seeing Shea Lacey, but I know he's just been back with the academy, so I understand it if he doesn't. But I want to see Harry Amas today. I want to see Toby Collier. I'm not saying that Leicester is an easy team. They won't be the easiest team. They are a Premier League team at the end of the day, and I think they might rotate too. But I hope Ruud does something that Erik ten Hag hasn't done, which is at least start one new, fresh academy player in the lineup. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that there's much to lose in this. I remember Man United went out in this, I think we went out in this stage of the competition last year, right? To Newcastle. So you can't possibly do worse than last season. You possibly cannot do worse than last season. Kone is someone I really want to see. I'm excited to see Sekou Kone. I'm really, really excited to see Sekou Kone because I just think he's gonna this talent that Manchester United have brought in, this trio of talent that they brought in the summer, is going to be the future of Manchester United. Let this be a hot take. Let this be, me just going off of emotion or whatever. This is gonna be 3 players that are very, very important to Manchester United in the next 5 years. I think with Man United's ability to develop players and kind of bring them into the first team, I do kind of look at this 3 that they brought in this summer. And like I said, all roads lead to Ruben Amorim or a manager that has a proven track record of developing young prodigies, if you want to call that. Samuel Lasal is the guy in the middle that Manchester United brought this summer. Chido Obi Martin on the right-hand side. He scored a hat-trick in 14 minutes. He scored his first goal for the under-18s in 1 minute and something. And Sekou Kone, who, if you just watch him, you can see that this guy, I don't want to say he's like a Paul Pogba regime, because I think Pogba is 101. I don't think we're ever going to see a Pogba-esque kind of player. But if you see the way Sekou Kone carries the ball in 10 seconds, that's even crazier. If you see the way that Sekou Kone kind of carries the ball, kind of progresses the ball, he glides with the ball. For a guy so tall, all he has to do is really bulk up on his strength, and he'll be a very good player. I watch Brighton a lot because I really, really like. There's a guy called Carlos Baliba that plays for Brighton. I really, really like him. And he is of a similar bracket as Lamine Camara at Monaco. Players that have come through European systems through Africa into a first team in Europe. Man United, if they are on the horizon to sign a central midfielder, a box-to-box, if they want a box-to-box, please go and buy Baliba. Please. If Man United let Casemiro go in the summer, please go and buy Baliba. Because if you've got Ugarte and you've got a Sekou Kone, for example, that you're developing into the team, Baliba will be a great alternative. I don't think he's going to be cheap, because you know what Brighton do. They buy to sell. Baliba is class. He had Kobe on ropes. I remember I watched him in the United game. I watched him in multiple games this season, but there was one game I watched against Chelsea, yeah? Obviously, Brighton lost. But I was on my feet applauding, because I said, this guy, if it wasn't for Cole Palmer scoring a hat-trick in that game, Baliba would have been man of the match. He was out of this world. And that's the day I think that he really kind of made himself known to me. I knew of him before. I know that he joined Brighton last season through the French system, but he's Cameroonian and he's a young guy. He's only 20, but he's like 11 years younger than their manager. So for me, the way that the youth system is going for Manchester United, this is positive news for the these two to be available and be involved in today's matchday squad. Like I said, there is no guarantee that they're going to start. There really is no guarantee. But just to be in and around that first team is probably beneficial. Now, who do you guys think Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to play today? Should I bring up the formation? Actually, I'm not going to bring up the formation builder on screen. I'm just going to talk it through. I think Anana's going to start in goal, but I wouldn't be mad if Bayinda starts, personally. I wouldn't be mad if Bayinda starts. Left back, I think it will be Harry Amas. But that's me making that's actually a hot take from me, because I actually don't know if Ruud is actually going to throw Harry Amas straight into the first team, like first game of the season being a Premier League team in the Carabao Cup. But I would say Harry Amas should be the option. I think it'll be Leicester and Delit and Dallo. I don't think Adam Mizraoui's doubtful apparently, so I'm just going to make the assumption that he's not available. The midfield, isn't the team sheet in 15 minutes? Is it? The game kicks off at 7:45. Hold on. The game kicks off at 7:45. So wouldn't that mean it will be 10 minutes? It will be 1 hour before? Am I right, guys? Am I right, guys? It's 1 hour before the team announcements. The team comes out 1 hour before the game, or is it 1 hour 15? Sometimes it varies. 5:30. Yeah, 6:30. There you go. So it's not in 15 minutes because it's 5:30. It's 5:30. Splashkip had me bugging out. It's been too long. Finally excited for Man United game, even if it's in the League Cup. I just think it's because it feels like a breath of fresh air. Like I feel like that's it. It just feels like it's just a new horizon. And you know what, guys? I don't like. Why do people keep comparing Ruben Amorim to Erik ten Hag? People keep saying, "Oh, Ruben Amorim, everything that's being said about him is the same thing that was being said about Erik ten Hag." It's not. Nobody was saying Erik ten Hag was a young manager because he wasn't young. He had heaps of experience under his belt. Maybe outside of England and outside the big European leagues, but he had experience. Ruben Amorim, let's actually look at Ruben Amorim's track record in comparison. I think Man United are taking a bigger risk with Amorim than they are with Erik ten Hag. Look at his coaching history, guys. His managerial career. He was coaching at a team called Casa Pia, which is a team that's in the Portuguese league. He was there for a year. He was at Braga B, which is the lower side of Braga. It's their B team, their reserve team. He spent a year at Braga, and since then, 4 years, he's been at Sporting. This idea that he is the same as Erik ten Hag, I think that actually is a bit offensive a little bit to Erik ten Hag, because Erik ten Hag is actually got a lot of accolades. He had a lot of accolades coming into Manchester United. I mean, I said this all the time. Erik ten Hag's coaching career was riding off of that Champions League. If it wasn't for that Champions League run, knocking out Real Madrid, blowing the game to Spurs, a lot of people would not have rated him as highly. Now, I think Erik ten Hag shot himself in the foot when he abandoned what he stood for in terms of his philosophy, right? When it comes to his philosophy and his style of football, let's actually bring Erik ten Hag up on here on the screen. I think Erik ten Hag shot himself in the foot the day that he said, I can't play the Ajax way. That's the day that I realized this guy is not serious. He's not a serious guy. Now, that is one thing I would judge Ruben Amorim on. Ruben Amorim, when he comes to Manchester United and, a couple of months into the role, if it's not working, I'm going to look at and see his ability to adapt. Can he adapt? I think that's the biggest thing for Manchester United in terms of appointing this manager. Can he adapt? I watched a bit of tape on his team, Sporting, how they play out from the back, but particularly how they are out of possession, because I think Man United out of possession were just leaking holes everywhere under Erik ten Hag. So I was looking at Ruben Amorim to kind of understand, how does he set up his team out of possession? And you will only really know once he comes to the league and once he starts coaching. But essentially what I'm going to look at is, how does he adapt his pressing structure, his out of possession play, the way that the team set up out of possession, the rest defense, which for Manchester United under Erik ten Hag was completely horrendous. It was horrible the way that Manchester United set up in terms of their rest defense. Now, like I said, Erik ten Hag's unwillingness to adapt was the beginning of his downfall at Manchester United. I don't think, in terms of the way that they play, the way that they set up, the way that they changed, because Ruben Amorim showed us even last 2 seasons ago when they knocked Arsenal out of the Europa League. They were happy to sit back. But then I've watched games of them where they're happy to attack. They're happy to have possession. But the biggest kind of standout for me in terms of, again, and maybe I'm doing a disservice because I'm comparing Erik ten Hag's Manchester United to Ruben Amorim's Sporting. Maybe I should compare ten Hag's Ajax and Amorim's Sporting. But when I look at Man United under Erik ten Hag, I look at and see a team that were not responsible in possession. They didn't care for possession. For a manager that reportedly wanted to play a possession-style football, they were very careless when it came to possession. And when I say careless, they were more open and more attached to the idea of going for second balls rather than having the possession and taking care of it. Whereas when I look at Amorim Sporting, every player has to be good on the ball. That's why I think certain players will not kind of succeed in this. I really don't think so. So this notion that between Amorim and Ten Hag, oh, it's the same. It's just two different leagues. Oh, you're just getting the Portuguese Ten Hag. Nah. Ten Hag compares himself to Mourinho, so you are safe, Mina. I mean, the Portuguese media, guys, I don't know if you know, the Portuguese media labeled Ruben Amorim as the next special one. That is, for me, big boots to fill. That is very, very... So, like, for me, again, the way that I look at Amorim, I don't look at Amorim as the next special one. I look at him as Ruben Amorim. Like, this is really his moment. Like, if I'm not wrong, yeah, Pep started out at Barcelona relatively around the same age. Am I wrong? Or at Bayern Munich? Yeah, Pep started at Barcelona in 2008. Let me try to do the maths quickly, guys. How long ago is 2008? How long ago is 2008? My cousin was born in 2008. That would be 16 years ago. 16 minus 53. You see how bad I am? I'm trying to do the maths off the top of my head, but I'm just going to back out the calculator right now. He was 37! Pep Guardiola was 37 years old when he started at Barcelona. I bet you any money no one was saying this guy's too young. I get it. He spent even a year at Barca B, similar the way that Amorim spent a year at Braga B. Now, again, I'm not saying that he is the next Pep, but I'm saying that history kind of shows if you back a young manager, you never know what the manager is capable of. It's crazy to think that Manchester City is the longest time that he's spent at a club. That is crazy, guys. Out of all the teams that Pep has coached, you're telling me Manchester City is the one that he spent the longest at. He's been there for 8 years. All the other Barca, he was there for 4. Bayern Munich, he was there for 3. Who do you guys think Ruud van Nistelrooy will select in that front lineup today? Who do you think will be the starters for that front lineup? Do you think we might see Joshua Zirkzee? Do you think we might see Ahmad? Do you think we might see Anthony? No, Anthony's out injured. Thank you. Do you think we might see Marcus Rashford? Would we see a front line of Zirkzee, Ahmad, Garnacho? For me, I'm not going to lie, that is too imbalanced. You have too much possession. If you're trying to play possession and trying to tiki-taka into the goal, I would say go for Rashford, Zirkzee, Ahmad. Now, I really want to. Really want to. I really want to see Højlund playing out wide. I don't know what it is. Maybe under Amorim, we could see Zirkzee as the 9 and Højlund as one of the guys behind him. I don't know. But I really want to see Zirkzee just playing slightly out wide. Now, another part of me contradicts that because I also want to see Zirkzee with the ball at his feet. I want to see him play as just a number 9 striker, you know? I don't want to see none of this dropping deep, linking up, blah, blah, blah. But I also want to see Joshua Zirkzee play because I think Bruno Fernandes, if you want him to be the Bruno that we know and we adored in terms of creating chances, you need to take as much responsibility away from him in possession. Like Bruno Fernandes sometimes feels like he's got the weight of the world off his shoulders and he has to carry the team through possession. Sometimes I think Bruno is better off being a passenger in possession. And players like Zirkzee, players like Ahmad, players like Kobbie Mainoo will allow him to do that. The less responsibility that Bruno Fernandes has in that middle third of the pitch when it comes to possession, the better it will be for Manchester United. I think it might be an Ahmad, Højlund, Rashford front three, but equally saying that I wouldn't be mad if it's Zirkzee that starts because then I know Ahmad can get in behind, I know Rashford can get in behind, and I also know that Ahmad can link up, etc., etc. We need to steal that Gokares kid. We could have... Listen, why do we have to go buy him from Sporting now for an inflated price? 2 years ago, he was available in Coventry. When Amad Diallo was on loan at the Championship. So I know Man United executives would have been watching Championship games because they would have been keeping an eye on their loan players. He was there at Coventry. He was there for the taking. They brought him for meaty money. Meaty money. Garnacho, Zexi, Ahmad, I think, you know what? I look at the front line. I'm not mad at whoever starts. I personally just don't want to see Garnacho playing on the left and Rashford playing on the right. If Rashford and Garnacho start together, I want Rashford in his traditional position, and I also want Garnacho on the right hand side. I don't want Rashford as this right winger. I don't want him as this hybrid right winger, right mid. I don't want him as this right wing back that Erik ten Hag has had him playing. Quickly before we wrap it up, guys, predictions. I don't know what the score will be, you know. I'm just happy to look forward to a Man United game for once. I think that's the most important thing. I don't know what the score is going to be. I don't even know what the lineup will be. I'm just hoping maybe a 3-0. Maybe United can keep a clean sheet. Hopefully we can get some goals. I mean, Manchester United, as I brought up before on the screen, where is it? Man United in the Premier League are one of the least clinical teams since last season. Only Bournemouth and Everton are below them in terms of shot conversion rate. Like, I don't know how. Look at that, is so bad. Honestly, that is so poor. But I want Ruud van Nistelrooy, if he leaves after today or he's not the interim manager for the weekend, I want Man United to win today so he can have a 100% win record as a Manchester United interim manager. You know, the same way that Carrington did? I want him to have that as well. We've been good in the League Cup. The fans will be rocking 3-0. Yeah, imagine the fans. Oh, I should have went to this game. I was actually planning to go, but something came up. Imagine the fans when Ruud van Nistelrooy walks out of that tunnel. Like, when Ruud van Nistelrooy walks out of that tunnel and goes and sits in that head coach seat. Ruud. That's what you're going to hear. Ruud. It sounds like they're booing sometimes, you know. But they're going to be buzzing. Man United fans, I think there's going to be a new life in Old Trafford that has not been there for the last 12 months. It's not been there. And I've been to so many games in the calendar year where it feels like the life has been sucked out of the stadium. So I definitely think that the positivity and the vibes is going to be injected back. MUFC says, I guess this means United to lose. 1-0 United, 3-1 United. Yahya says 5-0 United. OJ says, as long as I see Ugarte in the midfield, I'm okay. I need him to build on that performance he put in the other day. I agree. I like to see Ugarte play. Ugarte, Casemiro midfield. I wouldn't be mad about that. Melissa Reddy reportedly saying, Ruud said he's really looking forward to walking out of the tunnel, hearing those cries of attack, and seeing his team doing exactly that on the pitch. Boy, Ruud, don't be making any false promises. Don't be making any false promises, because you better do that. I do not want to see a game where we just keep passing back and just go long. I swear, today I'm on Onana watch. I'm counting how many times Onana goes long. I'm going to count how many times he goes long, because obviously we see it so much. But you guys know what it is. Listen, did we hit over 100 likes? Yes, we did. Big up to everyone. If you are watching this back as well, be sure to hit the like button as well. Be sure to subscribe if you are new here. Should I do a stream after the game, guys? Just say yes or no. Should I do a stream after the game, or should I save everything from today's game to talk about tomorrow on the Daily Dose of Mina? Just say yes, just say no in the chat. It'll be 10 p.m. UK time, so it'll be a bit late. All right, you lot are saying yes. Okay, cool. I'll do a stream. Okay, I'll do a stream 10 p.m. UK time for Mina's State of Mind, and then obviously we'll have 5 and 5 that drops 5 minutes after the game. We might even say Ruud to stay. All right, let's not be too reactionary. But listen, all right, I'll be back, inshallah, in about 4.5 hours time, 10 p.m. UK time. So make sure you guys subscribe and turn on your post notifications. So when I go live, you lot will get notified. Only if we win, I say no more. Only if we win, I'm going live. The chat has spoken. But yeah, I hope to catch a lot of you guys on that stream. And if not, then I'll catch you for tomorrow for Daily Dose of Mina. Hit the like button on your way out, guys. I'm out. Peace.